Hey, good morning. Hope everyone's having a good day. It's Fed day, and the futures are selling off. We look at this, and there's a big point that the bounce crowd is missing, and I want to go through this real quick and then look at the charts. So this morning, futures sell-off was not random. It was not just geopolitics. It was the market is now being forced to reprice two things at once: higher inflation and a war shock that still doesn't have an off-ramp. As of this morning, we saw the Dow futures down 300 points and S&P down over 15, NASDAQ down over 47 because, of course, February PPI came in hot. Headline PPI printed 3.4% year over year, 2.9 was expected. Monthly PPI ran 0.7 versus 0.3 expected. Core PPI hit 3.9% year over year versus 3.7 expected. And core monthly ran 0.5 versus 3%. In other words, the inflation problem was already bad and the war premium got piled on top of it. And that war premium is not theoretical. Reuters reported Brent is now back above 100, with Brent around 104.02, WTI around 94.93 today after renewed energy disruptions. Yesterday, Brent settled at 103.42 and WTI around 96 as Iranian attacks on the UAE intensified supply fears. This is not oil is elevated. This is a live shock to transport fuels, petrochemicals, fertilizer inputs, shipping costs, insurance costs, and inflation expectations. So what is the market doing? The usual stupid game, pretending a one-day move in oil or one comment about tankers dribbling through the Straits of Hormuz means the problem is healing and it's solved. No, traffic merely existing is not normalization. Reuters said the Strait of Hormuz disruption has halved UAE crude output. Oil loading at Fujairah was at least partially halted after repeated attacks, and the UAE had to cut output by more than half. That's not a solved market. That is a damaged system still trying to function. The Fed problem gets worse from here, not better. Reuters says U.S. gasoline prices are up more than 25% since the war began. And Fed officials now face a stagflation setup. Higher inflation, weaker growth, more labor stress, and a market that has sharply scaled back rate cut expectations to just 1/4 point cut this year. That is the opposite of what equity bulls need. They need disinflation and easy money. They are getting oil shock and policy paralysis. Now to Kharg Island. A lot of armchair warriors out there keep saying just hit Kharg higher and then take the island and end this thing. This is a fantasy. Kharg is not some video game objective where you grab the dot on the map and the war ends. Kharg Island handles about 90% of Iran's oil exports. It sits in deep water, roughly 26 kilometers off the Iran's coastline, and has around 30 million barrels of storage capacity, with about 18 million barrels in storage earlier this month. In plain English, it is both enormously valuable and extraordinarily dangerous to touch because any serious strike on the oil side of that system risks removing up to roughly 2 million barrels per day from the global market. Reuters also noted Iran continues exporting roughly 1.1 to 1.5 million barrels per day, mainly to China. Here's the first non-obvious point. The U.S. already struck more than 90 military targets on Kharg while deliberately preserving the oil infrastructure. That tells you everything. If taking out the military layer was easy leverage and hitting the oil layer was still avoided, it is because Washington understands the next step is where the cost curve goes vertical. You can bomb radar, mine storage, missile bunkers, but destroying the export complex or occupying the island is a completely different animal. The second non-obvious point, a direct attack on Kharg is doomed, not necessarily because the first bombs cannot land, but because the strategic results is likely to fail. Why? Because the market consequences may hurt the attacker almost as much as the target. JP Morgan warned that seizing Kharg would worsen the oil shock, and Reuters reports that the island's destruction could remove up to 2 million barrels per day from supply. If your goal is to calm markets, suppress inflation, help consumers, and support equities, detonating the main artery of Iranian exports does the exact opposite. It's self-sabotage dressed up as toughness. Third, if you damage Kharg Island, Iran has already been moving more oil towards Ask outside the Persian Gulf. The Wall Street Journal, citing Kepler, reporting record inventory buildup at Jask while Kharg load-ins remain stable. That does not mean Jask replaces Kharg one for one. It does mean Tehran is not sitting still. It is still building contingency pathways. People acting like Kharg is a single on-off switch are oversimplifying this system. Fourth, the geography is awful for any sustained attack and seizure scenario. Kharg is only about 26 kilometers off Iran's mainland. That means any occupying force sits within easy reach of missiles, drones, fast boats, mines, and constant harassment from the Iranian coast. Even if major military sites on the island were hit, the mainland threat remains. That last part is an inference from the island's location and Iran's demonstrated regional strike capability, including repeated attacks on Fujairah and wider Gulf energy infrastructure. In other words, taking the island is one thing, holding, resupplying, and defending it under fire is another. Fifth, Iran has already shown it does not need to sink every tanker to break the market. Reuters reported that it only takes one missile or one mine on a passing tanker to reignite the situation. That is the key point most people are miss. The objective is not perfect blockade efficiency. The objective is persistent risk. Insurance blows out. Ship owners hesitate. Cargoes divert. Physical premiums spike. Supply chains gum up. The market clears higher, but long before total closure. The coalition backdrop is also weak. Germany rebuffed calls to send warships. Macron said France would not join the operations to unblock the strait during hostilities and would only consider a freedom of navigation coalition once fighting ended. So even the naval shield people kept fantasizing about is not really there in the way the bulls want to imagine. That matters because any direct move on Kharg without broad allied backing multiplies the operational and political costs. 7, the physical market is still tighter than the headline futures market want to admit. Reuters noted Middle East crude benchmarks have soared to record highs and become the world's most expensive oil because reduced regional supply is available for delivery. Read that again, available for delivery. That is the physical market language, not chartist nonsense, not speculative fluff. Real barrels, real loaded risk, real shortages where it counts. So no, a direct attack on Kharg is not some clean masterstroke. It is more likely a trap. You may score a tactical headline and still lose the strategic war. Oil up, inflation up, Fed trapped, equities down, allies split, Gulf infrastructure burning, and Iran still able to retaliate across a wide target set. Reuters and the Financial Times both point to Iran's ability to keep escalating attacks on Gulf energy, including operational fields, ports, vessels, and export nodes. That means the cost of escalation does not stop at Kharg, it spreads. So which brings us back to stocks. The future sell-off this morning is making perfect sense. The market is being forced to price an ugly possibility that still is not consensus. This can become a stagflationary war grind, not a quick shock and recovery event. Hotter PPI, oil over 100, gasoline up more than 25% since the war began, supply disruptions still active, the Fed is boxed in. That is not bullish. That is what failure looks like before the crowd admits it. The bulls want a relief rally, that's fine. They may have one, but unless the physical energy system actually stabilizes, shipping risk actually falls, and inflation actually cools, it is just another bear market hallucination. The island is not the solution, it's the tripwire. Also, there's second and third derivative effects. because also oil is not moving, LNG is not moving, and you need LNG, and the byproduct of LNG is helium. Without helium, you don't get semiconductor manufacturing. That will shut down, right? That is not going to continue. And there's already warnings and signs that that may be starting to get planned for production sites in Asia right now. Also, we have a situation where sulfuric acid is becoming very low on supply, as well as fertilizer. Food costs could go much higher as the planting season comes to an end and there's no fertilizer to be able to help grow food and have the yield that is needed to feed the world's population. So later in the fall, we could see dramatic price increases and shortages of food like corn and wheat specifically. Also, we have sulfuric acid is used in a lot of manufacturing processes throughout the world, especially in tires. Without sulfuric acid, you don't get tires. Without tires, your car eventually will not be able to move forward if you need them. And there's many other products like that at risk. So you have this second and third derivative effect, and everyone is completely ignoring and has no idea that, and we are close to the point of no return because we have already gone on so long with this situation. So be really careful. I would be really defensive and not and stay alert. Let's take a look at the charts and see what they're telling us this morning. All right, as we look at the markets this morning, markets are opening in the red. When we look at the Dow Jones, we're still looking for another push lower. We're going to try to find support either at 45,700 or even 45,000 even. So that's a pretty big drop from where we are right now. And of course, the SPY right now, the target we're looking at is 653, and then a big decision for the market will happen. So we do see the market trying to break lower. As long as the market stays below 674.62, Dow Jones 47,464, most rallies are likely to fail no matter how impressive they may seem. We have seen Bitcoin turn lower from our short area. We've given this to members as an area to short, and it looks like it's working out pretty well. Also, we're looking at gold and silver turning lower sharply, heading into our buy areas as well. In silver, we had a short here for members, and they're obviously doing really well today. And so we made two good calls on the metals. Now, oil looks like it is starting to break higher. It tried to break through this 93 level support, and it looks like it failed to be able to do that. It tried to just poke below it, and now it's looking like it's trying to create the next leg higher. So if this continues, this will add a lot of pressure on the market, and not in a good way. Okay. And looking at the dollar index, we're moving higher as expected. The Japanese yen continues to weaken, but at some point that's going to end, and we're going to expect strength to return. Interest rates could be starting to make another turn higher. If interest rates are at a critical moment, if this chart plays out like I have shown here, we should start to see a bigger breakout in rates and really get into the meat of the move higher, all the way up to maybe 6% on the long end. That will definitely hurt growth in financial stocks. VIX is starting to break out a little bit higher, back testing this support, as you can see here after this, spike. If we can build higher from this support area, we can take out 35 and we would go to 60 VIX. So you can see the real heavy selling may not haven't even started yet. But when you look at this count overall, and like the Dow Jones, for example, we're coming to an area where we see potentially 5 waves. So if we see 5 waves down, we could get a relief rally and then get that bigger flush later, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen in that manner. So this next several weeks and is going to be very important on how the definition of this correction is going to go, because we're either going to get a sharp pullback and then a rally to trap more people and then a much bigger flush, or we're just going to flush, right? One or the other. Right. So that's kind of the unknown situation. A lot of traders out there think this SPY 652 is some magical level where you're just going to be able to print money like you're at a money tree and be able to just go take whatever money you need. But I would be really careful thinking that way and just trade in a chart pattern. If you want to buy 652, you're basically buying scratch offs that have a 50-50 chance of winning, because you could be buying into the meat of the downtrend if you don't get that bounce, because you could be right in the heart of the 3 at 3. So right now, that's kind of the backdrop we see in the market right now. So we still forecast the market lower. It's going to be choppy. And when we see our levels, we see opportunities. We do show them, like we had here in Bitcoin and like we do in silver as well. So we do present those to our members. So you should definitely consider joining. It's only $5 a month. I'm sure whoever took the short in silver made more than $5 in Bitcoin today. And we don't trade every day. We're not a gambling site. We don't have an addiction, compulsion to trading constantly. We don't need constant action. We just wait for our opportunity. We wait for our pitch, and then we swing. We don't swing at every pitch that comes. We don't swing just because we want to swing. Okay, so some days we don't have any buys, any trading, and I know that's hard for people, but that's the best way to kind of look at the market. So right now we see more downside. Here we do have a lot of levels that we've identified. We can go to our pro group. Pro group covers big cap tech. Recently added Palantir and Robinhood to that. And then our elite members, we cover a lot of basket of stocks, and we're along a lot of different instruments from much lower levels. I mean, much earlier in the year, way before you ever heard it on TV or before Kramer said to buy it or anybody you followed. You were way ahead of this, way ahead of stock services that charge hundreds, even $500-$600 a month. We were ahead and bought it. Like RIG, for example, everyone's like, I want to buy energy. I want to buy energy. We were saying to our members to buy RIG here at 216. Okay, you see that. And guess what? Do we care what happens here? No. Now everyone's going to have to chase it and play, again, the scratch off. Is it going to go down and up? Is it going to go up? Guess what? We don't care because our entry is so low. And we have already identified many opportunities like that. And we have a list of trades that we're watching on and we call our shopping list. And I have a feeling they'll be the same kind of setups for in the months ahead that you'll eventually hear about on TV again. So that's what we see right now in the market, guys. So the market is in a dangerous situation, in a dangerous setup. It's still pushing lower, and then it's got a big decision to make. Are we going to make a big rally, right? It's going to make this big rally fear and then create a different structure, or is it just going to puke all the way down to maybe SPY 605? We don't know. No one knows, but I would prepare for that type of selling. And as you get these little rallies like we had yesterday, those are good opportunities to, raise cash, lighten the load, buy puts, bearish positions, that type of thing. It's not about loading and backing the truck up. So that's all I've got today, guys. Good luck. And like I said, I think you should subscribe and join. You can also go to my website, ewsage.com, if you want to learn more. All right, that's it.